Welcome to the Teamuniformorders online webinar. In this webinar, we're going to cover all of the new features that were released this past Wednesday, including many highly anticipated features.
All right, so on that note, we'll proceed with the first and most anticipated feature, which did release, and that would be the new store designs. So this is now active and functioning in all of your dashboards. We'll show you how you can get these set up for each of your stores. It's a very easy transition. If you built any of these stores in the Design 1 style, you'll easily be able to convert those over to the Design 2 style, which is what you're seeing here. All right, so we'll actually go right in. We'll show you a few examples to start things off. So here is the first of several designs we'll go ahead and show you today. So first off, you will have control over the initial color of the design, the color theme you want to start with. So we have 5 for you to choose from right now. In the future, we will be giving you more control over creating your own color themes, so more on that in the future. But for now, we'll cover what we currently have. So first off, the banner that displays at the top of the Design 2 stores, it does support a much larger display. So much more room for the team branding as well as your dealership branding, however you want to handle that. All right, so we will scroll down and we'll discuss some of the new functionality that comes along with the new Template 2 design. And that is with the, of course, first off, what we're showing here is the new display for mandatory and recommended products. So with mandatory and recommended products, they all group into this one area, and what customers are able to do, they can cycle through and see these products. They can also see which of these products have been added to their cart already, so they have a good tally.
Yep, and with this feature, our focus, because from a conceptual standpoint, this new store design is a lot different than our classic stack and scroll store. And in that design, it was really easy for shoppers to see which ones were recommended, mandatory, etc. But because this design features individual product pages, it can be a little bit more difficult for them to actually know which ones are recommended or mandatory. And so we've grouped them together in this one specific section. And of course, this is optional. If you decide not to want to use this, you can list your products normally down below, which Lee will show you in just a second.
And the second feature that we'll go ahead and show, the categories. So you're able to organize products based on whatever categories you want to set up. You can group them into things such as product types, organizations, even genders. So you could have men's, women's categories, for example. But you can get pretty creative with the category options. So we just have a couple for this one. We'll show more in a moment. But now we'll get into the product display. So for the products, they do display more of a tiled format versus that stack and scroll format of Design 1. So you're able to see more products on screen at any given time. So now we'll go ahead and click in to view the details for these products. And of course, customers, they still select based on size and color.
We have just a note here. We have greatly enhanced our color selection across both of our storefronts with this release as well. So as Lee showcased when he clicked into the color drop-down, it now shows the hex color code as well as the name for your customers to see. In the past, it used to simply show a hex color code with a checkbox indicator. So this should be better for customers that are hard of sight.
And further down, there's also an available products display. So while the customer is shopping for another product, they can still scroll down and see additional products as well, so they can cycle through those. And we'll go ahead and add this product to our cart. When a customer does add a product to their cart, they can either continue shopping, they can check out now. So the steps for shopping are a little more self-guided now as well. So we'll go ahead and check out now. And if I go ahead and try to check out, there's some recommended and even a mandatory product in this store. So we've also improved the functionality of letting the customer know which exact product is mandatory or recommended, and even guiding them to that product.
Yeah, and one of the other nice things that is now possible with this new store design, since products have individual pages, it is now possible to actually share out an individual page for a product. So imagine this scenario. You have a championship t-shirt that you would like to offer to one of your regular organizations, and they've already done their uniform ordering for the year, etc. But the main focus is to get them to shop in that championship t-shirt. So you could create the store with a championship t-shirt. You can link them directly to it using the same public URL that you're used to, plus the the custom page attributes. And then when they get here, if they scroll to the bottom, they're going to be tempted to shop the other products that are available in the store because of that available products feature that we've created. So you could theoretically get additional sales beyond just that championship t-shirt order as a result of creating a public spirit store and linking out to just an individual item within that store.
All right, so we'll move into some other designs now. So that was our orange and black theme. This is more of a black and lime theme. So we're just going to kind of scroll through, and here's an example of a package in the Design 2 style. Of course, if we click in to view the details for that package, each product is kind of separated inside of the internal details, so it's a little better organized, I would say, for packages in terms of how they display. Okay, so we'll go into another one, and we'll kind of cut it off here so that we can go ahead and move on to how you can actually get this set up. So this will be the last one that we show example-wise. This is our blue and gray theme, so again, another custom banner. And we have more recommended products in this section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to call out, the categories feature is something that is totally optional. So even though you choose this design, if you don't want to further complicate your stores, you do not have to create categories. And Lee, this may be a great time to transition over to the store setup just to show them that.
From your dashboard page, you're going to go to the edit section of any store, whether it's existing or even if you're setting up a new store, you'll of course have the option to choose your design. But we'll go ahead and go into, so of course, again, whenever you go to initially set up a store, or if you're editing a store's settings, you have the option for Design 2 now. You did have only the option for Design 1. Now we've extended that to both options. And from there, you're able to choose the actual design theme that you want as far as the color. So we have 5 to choose from right now. Again, in the future, we will be giving you control over color design. Lastly, as far as the other features you can enable for Design 2, you can either enable or disable the categories functionality. So if you want to be able to group products together in categories that you can name, turn this on, and we'll show you how you can enable that for individual products. And then you can also assign an estimated delivery date. This is actually optional, but this can be very useful to let customers know exactly when they can expect to receive their product.
Yep, and this is a brand new field altogether, and it will display directly below the store open and close date if you decide to use it, and then it will also display during the checkout process. So totally optional. Some dealers might find this useful. Some may want to stay away from it altogether, but it's just something else that we've added for you to be able to use.
Yeah, so here's an example of where it displays in the top banner that persists at all times. And then also, as Derek mentioned, at checkout. Okay, other than that, of course, you have the large Design 2 banner. It gives you the dimensions for that banner here, so 1300 by 400 pixels. And from there, you will, of course, update your store. And like I mentioned before, as far as if it's a Design 1 store currently, it's very easy to just switch the setting over. You don't have to do anything special. Very, very simple.
Correct. One thing just to mention regarding banners, since the banner size is different from Design 1 to Design 2, we do save those both in separate spots within the platform. So if you switch a store that has a Design 1 banner over to design 2 and you don't want to redesign a new banner, you will simply have to re-upload that banner into the design 2 banner section.
All right, so we'll actually go to the edit catalog section now for the store, and we'll show you how to actually assign categories to products. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit these shorts. And I think, yeah, so right now these shorts are considered recommended. If they're recommended or mandatory, you wouldn't actually be able to assign a category to them because they would be grouped into that section of recommended and mandatory products.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to assign a category to this, it would have to be an optional product, and then I could simply just type the category I want.
Mm-hmm. And one of the nice features about the categories is as you create your first category, when you get into your next product, it will automatically display that category as soon as you start typing in that categories field. So you can keep your categories consistent and don't have to worry about, spelling cases correctly every single time. So Lee, go ahead and type, shorts, exactly. It will pop up automatically. Now we are considering also letting you manage categories on a store level at some point. Right now it is managed on the product level. That was one piece of feedback we've received in the last week or so since this has started to launch. But we'll consider that at a later date. At this point it would just be per product categories.
Okay, and while we're here, we'll actually go into the image and color section, and we'll talk about the new functionality as far as the color themes, or not the color themes, sorry, the color options for products. So right now we do require hex codes. I believe that's changing next week, isn't it, Derek, as far as not requiring hex codes?
Correct, yeah. So we're going to be doing another patch next week just to include a couple more small features, but you will soon enough no longer have to enter a hex code if you don't want to search or find an appropriate color. And we've actually gone a step further, and within the color name field, we now support forward slashes and hyphens, so that if you have black/white, you can actually name it appropriately instead of having to just do black space white. So just some simple things, but again, since the name is actually displayed on the storefront, that could be a huge benefit to your customers.
Yeah, as far as the new color drop-down display, I'll go ahead and show that again for those of you that may have not seen it in the product details page. But when the customer chooses the choose color option, then they get this nicer looking drop-down of color swatches and color names.
Yeah, now would be a great time to open it up to questions. This was the first of a couple of key features we wanted to highlight. So everyone, you feel free to unmute and ask us anything that you might have regarding this design. And yes, it is available as of today. There's nothing restricting you from using this across any of your stores.
So, hey, Derek, this is Will. I just had a quick question. So I saw on one of the stores you guys had where there was an animated, like, I don't know, a GIF, where there's a pair of like sneakers that were rotating. What is that? I mean, is that a feature that you're able to now 3D rotate products?
Great question. Great question, Will. So that's actually a feature we've had for some time now. It is a feature, however, that we kind of work with you on, and we call it 3D spin products specifically. And we have the ability, and Lee, you might want to jump in on this because you're more of the lead on it, but we have the ability to render almost any product in full 3D and then embed it directly in a storefront. And we've partnered with a company that kind of pioneered this technology. There is the one stipulation, of course, is we need to physically have the product to render it. So that's something, if you're interested, let us know. We'd be happy to render it free of charge. You'd ship it to us, we'd ship it back to you.
Well, yeah, so say we're having, like, I don't know if it's a jersey or something like that where, they have a design, it's the design on the front, design on the back. So if we wanted to then have the global logo or numbers on the back, are you still able to do that, or would you have to actually have a physical product which has all the imprinting on it?
The second part, yeah, we'd actually have to have the physical imprinted product. Now, when it comes to club and team business, we would recommend it for the start of a 2 or 3 year uniform period. This way all of your stores will be able to benefit from it. We would not necessarily recommend doing it for a 6-month ordering window because the time of sending products and getting them rendered, which it's not really long. It might take 1 week or less, but that time alone may not be worth it if it's a short-term store.
I think Suzanne also has a question. Are you on the call, Suzanne?
Yeah. I did one of these stores last week, and now I'm wondering on the back end of things with breaking it down by categories. For instance, I have a company that's broken down into 8 segments. Is there going to be a way to print off my reports with just like the corporation part, just the electrical part? Does that show, how does it break down and the back end of things?
Great question. So categories right now are just a storefront only feature. They do not actually tie into the specific product, so it's not going to make its way to your reports. What you would want to do instead, if I'm not mistaken, is either use our team/organization option where the shopper gets to identify with one of those groups when they place their order. That will then associate that order with that group and can filter the reports appropriately. Or you'd want to use our report tags feature, which also allows you to enter in any information and then display that on a various number of reports. Does anyone else have any other questions regarding our new design? Any feedback, anything like that before we move on to our next feature?
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you have a current site set up in the scroll way, the scroll view, can you switch it to this view?
Absolutely.
Or would you have to remake the whole store?
Nope, absolutely. Lee, I think, had demonstrated that just maybe 10 minutes or so ago. But when you go in to edit your store, it could be existing, it could be new. There is a store design drop-down, and you just simply have to choose Design 2 and pick your color. And just doing that, the store will change over. The only thing you'd have to upload if you had a banner is a banner, because the banners are not carried over from Design 1 to Design 2. Well, the next feature that we're going to discuss today is called our product library feature. And some of you may know about this feature from the past because it has been somewhat of an existing feature, but we've overhauled it significantly with this latest release. And we've actually created an entirely new section called My Library. So in the past, you could never build a product in TUO unless you built a store first. So the number one problem we tried to solve with this feature is what happens in your slow seasons, in your Januaries, in your Aprils, in these months in which you don't actually have a store to build and you have labor and staff available. Well, with this new feature, you can then task them to build out the products that you are going to need, that you want to use, or that you offer across your entire business. And then you can easily add them to the stores when it comes time to build for the season with just a click of a button. So Lee's demonstrating right here how adding a product to My Library is just like adding a product to a regular store. So there's nothing new in terms of adding the product. It's just simply in a different spot. But while we're on this page, I just want to call out the 3 different colors and give you a little bit more explanation. So My Library is exactly what I just discussed. It's a brand new library that we have created for all of you that is going to be empty as of today because it's brand new. Then we have our store library, which this is what you're used to. This is what used to be called My Products, quote unquote. This is going to contain every product that you've ever built within any store. Now you'll notice as Lee's highlighting these products, we don't want you to have to rebuild everything that you've built in the past. That wouldn't be intuitive and that would waste your time. So we do give you a quick option to copy these products directly over to your My Library. And Lee, if you want to go ahead and just show us an example of that and show them how quick it is. So with a quick click, it will tell us the product's been copied to My Library, and then go ahead and research My Library now, Lee. And you'll notice that we now have a couple of different versions of products. Now, granted, these were ones we created before, but here's that Adidas hooded sweatshirt that we just copied over. And since we copied it to My Library, we have full control over editing it entirely and deleting it at any point because this product is not directly associated with any store. So if you change the sizes, if you change the colors, if you remove it altogether because it's no longer offered, it's not going to affect your stores. So huge benefit here. You can build the products in your slow seasons and then take advantage of that in your busy seasons to quickly and easily create stores. And finally, we have our TUO library here, which this feature is also existing, and we actively maintain and manage the TUO library to have many products, certainly not all, but many products that you can quickly and easily use to add to your stores. And we give you that same exact add to my library functionality, so you can create your own version of these products for quick and easy reference. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to jump over to the catalog page, because this library feature also ties directly into your product and catalog pages. And so the search for products tab is what was normally used to find your products located within the My Products library or the TUO library. So you'll recognize this look and feel because we copied it almost identically from the My Library section. So you can select your different libraries across the board. And then as we search, you're going to notice some new functionality added to the products themselves. The first of which I'm really excited about because it makes things so much faster, especially if you're just trying to build like a quick store to sample to a new client, is copy to store catalog. And Lee, go ahead and click that for that product. And the page will snap up to the top and you'll get a quick notification that the product's been copied to the store library. And go ahead and click on the catalog and you will see that, no, I've got to update that message actually, but you will see at the very bottom that product is now added directly to the store. So here's our phone case that we added. So you don't have to get into the edit product page. You don't have to worry about taking all that time that you used to in the past, especially if you're just trying to quickly build a store. Using this new feature, you can on the fly add 5, 10, 15 products, never having to update a product itself. We've also updated the drop-down so that now you're searching by stores instead of searching by catalog, which I think will be a little bit easier to understand. Lee, do you have anything to add on the feature?
Just reinforcing that the store library is what you're used to as your My Product library. So if you wanted to search by different stores, you can just check this option on and proceed to select whatever individual store that you know the product you need to reference lies within.
I know it might be tough to, to understand conceptually, but we've already had a few dealers start using it, and it has definitely increased the speed at which they build stores, especially for that prospect client. You can quickly and easily copy 5, 6, 10 products to a brand new store that you've set up before you even worry about getting the products decorated. So, okay, so the next feature we're going to talk about, we've actually made some significant improvements to our club and team invites. So we're going to jump right over to a club dashboard, and I'll explain this in full. But I'm sure most of you know that in the past, if you added a team or if you added a player to a club store, they were automatically invited to the store. Well, that could be a problem, because imagine this. Imagine if you're still working on the store and maybe it's not complete yet. And maybe you invited the team manager, but you didn't expect them to invite the players, but they did it anyways. And now you've got confused shoppers that don't know what they're supposed to order, and the roster is still being changed by the team manager. So our main goal with making improvements here was to first and foremost prevent people from being invited if the store is not actually live. So we have introduced some functionality that if you try to invite team managers or players but the store has not been reviewed and launched, you will get a notification telling you that you have to review and launch the store before they can be invited. You're also going to notice now that we've got 4 basically brand new buttons at the very top of your club dashboard. The first button is going to invite any new team managers that you've created. So of course a team manager, kind of the same thing as a team. And you'll notice that there's a new column all the way to the left-hand side called invited ? And it will tell you no or yes. So by using the invite new team managers button, it will make sure that all of those no's get converted to yes. And then the second button, invite inactive team managers, is going to do the same thing that you were used to, which is anyone that has not yet logged in will get re-invited to the store. So then finally, the last two buttons, this is going to let you invite every player throughout the club with a single click. Or same thing with inactive, any players that have not yet logged in with a single click. So that's the 4 new buttons on the club dashboard. Within each specific team, if you look down, within each specific team, we've also added the ability to invite players on a team level, both new and inactive. And then we also let you invite team managers individually as well as players individually.
Okay, so we'll go into this club and add a new player. I'll add myself. Okay.
Okay, so once the player is added, you'll actually be presented with a pop-up asking you if you want to invite that player right now or if you want to invite them later. I would say most likely you're going to start to select invite later, depending on the exact circumstance. If the store is open, you might invite them right then and there. But otherwise, you can go ahead and use the invite new players action to send invites to anyone that has not previously been invited. Questions about that?
There is, Mark. When we do club import for all the teams and players, so obviously we're then presented with accept this player, or accept the team manager first. And then so I'm assuming we'll have all the same buttons when we do that?
You will, exactly. So when you go to accept all the players, it will not automatically invite them. It will instead present you with that pop-up that says, do you want to invite these players now or do you want to invite these players later? So if the store is launched and you did an import, chances are you'd want to invite them now. But if the store is not yet launched, but you want to do the import just to get it over with, you could click invite later and then use any of our new 4 options here to invite all the managers, invite all the players, whatever makes sense.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great.
And so Lee, do you want to take lead on our last feature?
Recently added this feature, and the idea is that once your store is closed, and maybe you have several stores that are going to be closing around the same time even, that you receive an automatic update once any particular store has closed. So I will actually go ahead and show you where that is enabled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when Lee says update, he means an email. Yeah, it's a specific email that will get sent to the dealer rep upon closing the store.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a simple, button within the store settings to turn that on, and I would highly recommend that most of you turn this on for all stores going forward. And then Lee, you can show us an example of what that might look like.
This is where you would actually set up the store closed message as far as actually enabling the setting. It's either whenever you're creating a store or whenever you are editing the store settings. So of course, when the store actually closes, I will receive a notification email regarding that.
So it will tell you, of course, the name of the store. It will recognize who the dealer rep is, so it would be both addressed to the dealer rep and his name will be included in that email. But then we include a link to the reports section of that store. So with a single click, you can be taken directly to your TUO dashboard, directly to the reports section. There's also a link to the store settings in case you wanted to extend the date of that store or reopen it or make any changes. And finally, there is a link to our support team if there's any questions or concerns associated with that store. So those are the 3 key pieces of information included in the notification of store close email. Great. Well,
Yeah, Derek, this is Mark real quick. Couple things. Well, I have one feature request. I don't know if it's available, but on the shipping status or the status fields that we can create, the custom fields,
mm-hmm.
Can you create a checkbox by each order so we don't have to go into each order itself, change the status? Would that be feasible at some point?
So you actually can do that already. There's a tab right next to our My Library tab called Order Fulfillment, and it lets you actually bulk assign statuses across any variety of orders. And you can filter by store, you could filter by status, you could filter by date, and you can assign, let's say, shipped, for instance, if that's a custom status that you created. You can assign that to 50, 100, 1,000 orders with a single click.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Looks
Does
good.
anyone else have anything else before we close out today?
Hey, thanks, Derek. Thanks, Lee. Have a great weekend, guys.
Yep, you too.